Wallabies up against Wales this weekend, folks. Follows the All Blacks up against England in what is their start of a very busy weekend of rugby. Two sides in kind of similar positions in that you got 9th against 10th in the world. You got two squads very much on the rebuild, but a slight difference in that you've got Joe Schmidt, who's in his first campaign with the Wallabies, and Warren Gatland in his second stint with Wales, having just kind of overseen a squad which had a bunch of retirements 12 months or so ago with Allan Jones and Justin Tipuric and Reece Webb and so on and so forth, calling time on their international careers. So two sides very much looking to start the building process in preparation for this kind of next Rugby World Cup cycle. You guys can let us know your thoughts on who you think is going to come out on top. We will have a look through the squads. There's a few debutants, the recent history predictions, and we'll go from there. For the Aussies, Joe Schmidt has picked no fewer than 7 players to get their test debut, which is interesting. It's certainly hefty on the new faces, but 5 of them are on the bench. So it's not chucking all of these newbies into the deep end, but certainly impact from the bench will be one to watch to see which side gets more out of that. For the Australians, though, there's experience in the front row, with James Slipper at loose head up more than 100 test caps there. Matt Faessler is the lightest on the 3 of the front rowers for test caps with only around 5. And then big tight head Taniela Tupou is there. They'll be certain to look and try and boss things at scrum time with Tupou there at tight head. But in Super Rugby, the Aussie sides didn't really get that much in the way of ascendancy at scrum time. The Rebels were pretty decent who Tupou was playing for, but test level will be something else. Jeremy Williams, the force man, gets his test debut from the number 4 jersey, so big congratulations to him. He is a really high work rate player and deserving of his call-up. And then Lukhan Salakaia-Loto back into the Wallabies, really high skills player as well. So I think he accompanies Jeremy Williams really well. The back row is an interesting one because you got Liam Wright on the blind side, who's captain, who hasn't played for the Wallabies for, I want to say, 4 years. It's been quite some time, and I don't think he has ever started for the Wallabies. He's only ever been a sub, but he is not only going to start, but he is going to captain the side. He has been a leader for the Queensland Reds, don't get me wrong. He's certainly well experienced in that regard. He's still a pretty young man in his kind of mid-20s, but he's been a leader in that Red squad. It's just a heck of a promotion to go from being at best a squad guy a few years ago to now the captain of the Wallabies. But I think Joe Schmidt is going to get a feeling for the squad as time goes by to decide who is the long-term captain. But it's Liam Wright for week 1, so big congratulations to him. He's been phenomenal for the Reds in Super Rugby this year. High work rate, high tackle guy, really busy at line-out time as well, so certainly gives them that option. Fraser McReight, speaking of high work rate, high tackle players, he's there at number 7, so you kind of got 2 open sides playing there, because Liam Wright certainly started his career in the number 7 jersey, so expect them to be a threat tackle time and the breakdown. And then Rob Valetini may be the one expected to do the bulk of the ball carries from the back row, but Fraser McReight's pretty good in that department as well. 9-10 combo is Gordon and Lolesio. I'm not sure how many times we've seen them play together. Probably not a heck of a lot. Lolesio found himself kind of on the outer with Eddie Jones, but he's the most experienced of the 10s that Joe Schmidt picked in his squad. So he is the guy who gets the front running. And he's been pulling the strings really well for the Brumbies this year, so credit where it's due. And Jake Gordon in a pretty poor Waratahs side this year did look to stand out. I mean, his snipes from the base and quick service were part of what got them kind of looking good in patches for that Super Rugby season. The midfield's also got another debutant with Hunter Paisami alongside debutant Josh Flook. They obviously play both together for the Reds, so they would have played a bit of Super Rugby together this season. So looking for a bit of that chemistry. And I mean, Flook's been good. He's played for Australia A before. I think he scored 6 tries this Super Rugby season. He's still a very young man, so a promising one. And then the wings, Daugunu, Kellaway, and Wright. So Kellaway potentially would have been favoured for the 15 jersey, but Tom Wright, who has been in cracking form for the Brumbies, gets the nod. He's kind of one of these guys who got that asterisk next to his name that never does it at international level from what games we have seen him play test rugby. But if you're going to reward a guy on his form, I can understand why Joe Schmidt's made the pick, so we'll see if it pays off for him. Substitutes, you got Billy Pollard, Isaac Kailea, and Allan Alaalatoa, so that's a mixture of Allan Alaalatoa, who's very experienced, and then Kailea on debut, and Billy Pollard, who's got 1 cap, so not barring Alaalatoa, not that much experience in the forwards because the other two guys, Angus, Blyth and Charlie Cale, lock and loose forward replacements, are also debutants. So it's a very, very thin-looking bench in terms of experience in the forwards. Tate, McDermott, Tom Lynagh and Dylan Pietsch are the 3 back replacements. 2 of your debutants there in Tom Lynagh and Dylan Pietsch. Dylan Pietsch has been around the scene for a while. He must have been close to Wallabies call-ups in the past. Tom Lynagh is certainly this young and exciting prospect 10. And then Tate McDermott's a veteran at this point. So, yes, lacking depth in terms of experience with caps on the bench, but I don't think lacking for talent. We'll see how they go at standing up at test level. For Wales, it's also a chance for at least one guy to get his first cap. That's Josh Hathaway on the right wing. He's played a bit for Gloucester this year, and he's looked to be a pretty decent prospect. Tall kind of rangy winger, but we'll start with the forwards really because you feel like that's potentially where this game's going to be won and lost. Gareth Thomas, Dewey Lake and Archie Griffin are the front row. So in terms of that team that got pretty well beaten by the world champion Springboks a couple of weeks ago, Griffin is the only change to that lineup, and I think it's his first ever start for Wales, so congratulations to him. But his battle up against veteran James Slipper will be an interesting one. Locks, it's all changed from that last game against the Boks with Chiunza and Jenkins playing. Remember, both of those guys would have been unavailable for that game, having played their rugby in the Premiership. They don't get a release to play for Wales, so it's a young locking duo. Apparently they've played a bit of rugby together at under 20s level, so they should have a good understanding. Jenkins obviously captained the side during the Six Nations, and Chiunza, that kind of lock, loose forward hybrid, is a pretty dynamic guy to have in the second row. And the back row, Plumtree, Reffell and Wainwright. So Reffell comes in. Again, in the Premiership, he missed that last game, but he's got the nickname himself, Tommy Turnover now, because in the Six Nations he was full of tackles and he was full of turnovers. So the battle against Reffell between him and McReight might not quite be as kind of epic as the one we saw a few years ago with Pocock up against Tipuric, but both these teams have exceptional players in the number 7 jersey. Wainwright will also be expected to be doing a few big carries from number 8. And then Tame Plumtree tackled the house down, to be fair, against the Boks. So if they can't secure all that much possession, Tane will likely be called upon to do the same for Wales here. Backs-wise, Alice Bevan, who started against the Springboks, is at number 9. And he's joined by something of a surprise pick, Ben Thomas. Ben Thomas has played a bit of rugby at 10, but not a heck of a lot of rugby at 10. I believe for Cardiff in the season just gone, he started once in the number 10 jersey, and he's come off the bench a few games, but yes, he's played a lot more rugby at 12 than he has at 10. He gets the nod over Sam Costello, who seemed to have been Gatz's favoured guy for the number 10 jersey. He's been a fair bit criticised, has Sam Costello as maybe not being up to the standard as some of the previous guys who've worn that number 10 jersey for Wales, but he's still a very young man. But it is Ben Thomas's chance to get a crack this week. Midfield of Mason Grady and Owen Watkin is the same as the one that played against the Boks. Grady is a big unit, which seems to be what Gatz likes in that number 12 jersey. Hathaway, like I mentioned, the rangy winger on the right wing, so congratulations to him on his first cap. He's up against Filipo Daugunu, who's had a fair bit more international experience on the other side. And then experienced Liam Williams shifts to fullback. And you've got Rio Dyer, who's a bit of a mainstay with Gatz's side at the moment, there on the right wing. Bench-wise, it's the same front row replacements that played against the Springboks a couple of weeks ago. Lloyd, Matthias and O'Connor. Corey Hill, the veteran, comes in as your replacement lock. James Botham drops to the bench to make way for Tommy Reffell. Kieran Hardy is preferred as your number 9. I mentioned Costello drops to the bench. And then Nick Tompkins is back available, but only in the number 23 jumper. Stats-wise, Australia last year, for what it's worth, under Eddie Jones, they did have some decent attacking numbers. Now, they had a pretty poor year, admittedly, because their defensive numbers were pretty awful. Tackling percentage was bad. Turnovers conceded was high. Goal kicking was not fantastic. Possession was low. Just everything. The line-out rate was not great. So a lot of stuff didn't go right. But they did show some signs of a bit of attacking prowess. Now, the only side they didn't manage to score a try against last year was Wales in that World Cup game. But generally, the Wallabies had decent attacking numbers, didn't always convert them into points. but they certainly showed some glimpses of what they can do. Joe Schmidt, you feel like maybe we'll focus a little bit on getting the fundamentals right first, but we'll have to wait and see. For Gatz's side in the Six Nations thus far this year and against South Africa, they have lacked a bit of attacking firepower. Like they're averaging 2.7 meters a carry, when 4 is kind of seen as the marker as you're getting good go forward ball if you're getting 4 meters or more. 2.7 is by far the lowest of the teams that we're kind of tracking thus far this year, all the tier 1 teams. They have conceded a few more tries against South Africa, against England, against Ireland, so kind of those big pack teams, but they have been known to score a few of their own. And the final quarter, interestingly, for Wales has been their busiest quarter in terms of both conceding and scoring points this year. So the final 20s tends to get a bit helter-skelter, but we will see how things go this weekend. Recent history between the sides, it's actually shifted from a few years ago when Wales couldn't buy a win against Australia to something of Welsh dominance. If we go all the way back to 2018, which was that epic Pocock against Tipuric battle, 9 points to 6, that one finished in Cardiff. From then on, Wales went on to win 3 in a row at the 2019 World Cup and then at the 2021 Autumn Internationals. Then we get an Australian win in 2022, 39-34, and then back to what is a record win for Wales over the Wallabies at that last World Cup, 40 points to 6. That was a very different Aussie side from the one that's going to be fielded here in Sydney, but the average scores tended to be a bit closer than that one. Across the last 5, it's 28-21 to Wales, with that last match certainly boosting up the Welsh average. The bookies, though, for this one have got Australia as the favourites by a similar margin to the All Blacks game. They're saying 12 points at home. But the Wallabies record in Sydney is incredibly poor. They haven't won there since 2019, so it's not been the happiest of hunting grounds. The rugby forecast algorithm goes a little bit more conservative, saying that the Wallabies are only 6-point favourites. It is on at Sydney, as I mentioned, 7:45. Local kickoff. Pierre Brousseau, the Frenchman, is the referee for this one. If you're looking to watch this game and you're in the States, or the New Zealand-England game, or Ireland against South Africa, check out Flow Rugby. That is down in the description. They are the official broadcaster of many of the July internationals. Tell them 2 cents sent you, basically, by using that link. You guys let us know your thoughts on how things are going to go. Do you think Gatz's youthful side can get an away win, or do you think Joe Schmidt is going to be the steadying influence on the Wallabies? You guys take care, and I'll talk to you again soon. See you later.